All right, so we have Cal Rittenhouse, I guess his lawyer's statement, Pierce Bainbridge, or Bainbridge. He's engaged to represent 17-year-old Cal Rittenhouse, wrongfully charged with murder after acting in self-defense in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Community lifeguard was protecting life and community because his state and local government failed. Was viciously attacked by mob and fearing for his life, exercised his God-given and constitutional right to self-defense. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and read this. And one of the things that after working up north there for a little bit, I know how close Antioch is to the state line. So a lot of people that are talking about why was he up there anyway? Why was he doing all the way in Kenosha or Wisconsin? The thing is that it's like Antioch is about 5 miles away, and from the state line, it's like right there, and then probably about 15 minutes away from Kenosha. So it's really not that far away. So for people that are sitting there saying like this person was so far away, it's like right there. So if you go to a bar or something like that in Kenosha, Wisconsin, it's see Illinois place everywhere. Especially once they voted to overturn their coronavirus things. But so we'll go ahead and say I'm gonna go ahead and read this statement. Before you do, comment, like, share, subscribe, and here we go. Vernon Hills, Illinois, August 28th, 2020. What's this? Pierce Bainbridge is honored Pierce Bainbridge is honored to represent 17-year-old Antioch, Illinois resident Kyle Rittenhouse, who has suddenly found himself at the center of a nationwide firestorm and charged with murder and defending himself from relentless, vicious, and potentially deadly mob attack in Kenosha, Wisconsin. On August 25th, 2020, Kenosha spiraled into chaos following the Jacob Blake shooting. The Kenosha mayor and Wisconsin governor failed to provide a basic degree of law in order to protect the citizens and community buildings in Kenosha. The city burned as mobs destroyed buildings and property, and looters stole whatever they wanted. Rioters defaced storefronts in the courthouse and many other public and private locations across the city. After Kyle finished his work that day as a community lifeguard at Kenosha, he wanted to help clean up some of the damage, so he and a friend went to the local public high school to remove graffiti by rioters. Later in the day, they received information about a call for help from a local business owner whose downtown Kenosha auto dealership was largely destroyed by the mob violence. The business owner needed help to protect what he had left of his life's work, including 2 nearby mechanic shops. Kyle and a friend armed themselves with the rifles due to the deadly violence gripping Kenosha and many other American cities and headed to the business premises. The weapons were in Wisconsin and never crossed state lines. So obviously, looks like they can prove that. And if they can prove that, then people talking about you can't be, why did you have the guns crossing state lines? Well, the thing is that in Kenosha, it looks like that a 17-year-old can have rifle. So upon arrival, Kyle and others stood guard at the mechanic shop across from the auto dealership to prevent further damage or destruction. Later that night, substantially after the city's 8 p.m. curfew expired without consequence, the police finally started to attempt to disperse a group of rioters. In doing so, they maneuvered a mass of individuals down the street towards the auto shops. Kyle and others on the premises were verbally threatened and taunted multiple times as the rioters passed by, but Kyle never reacted. His intent was not to incite violence, but simply to deter property damage and use of his training to provide first aid to injured community members. After the crowd passed by his premises and Kyle believed that the threat of the further destruction had passed, he became increasingly concerned with the injured protesters and bystanders congregated at the nearby gas station. With no immediate access to medical assistance or help from law enforcement, Kyle headed in that direction with the first aid kit. He sought out injured persons, rendered aid, and tried to guide people to others who could assist to the extent that he could do so amid the chaos. By the final time Kyle returned to the gas station and confirmed there were no more individuals, injured individuals who needed assistance. Police had advanced their own formation and blocked what would have been his path back to the mechanic shop. And I think that's what people were talking about, like in the videos when they said that he kind of got behind a certain line, and then he tried to get back up, and at that point, the police, he couldn't get behind the police line there. But Kyle then complied with the police instructions not to go back there. Kyle returned to the gas station until he learned of a need to help protect the second mechanic shop further down the street, where property destruction was imminent, with no police were nearby. As Kyle proceeded towards the second mechanic shop, he was accosted by multiple riders who had recognized that he had been attempting to protect a business the mob wanted to destroy. This outraged the riders and created a mob now determined to hurt Kyle. Here's where we are right now. This is where things are starting to kind of really get out of hand as far as he's with him. They began chasing him down. Kyle attempted to get away, but he could not do so quickly enough. Upon the sound of a gunshot behind him, that's what they were talking about when they thought the first guy. And this is actually, from what I'm understanding, this is on video. That you can hear the gunshot. That's what the guy that was talking on Tucker Carlson, I can't remember that guy's name, but I think he was from the Daily Caller. And they said that can be corroborated, it sounds like. Upon the sound of a gunshot behind him, Kyle turned and was immediately faced with an attacker lunging towards him and reaching for his rifle. He reacted instantaneously and justifiably with his weapon and protect himself, firing and striking the attacker. I think that's the guy that they said that was a sex offender or something for assaulting a young girl or sexually assaulting a young girl or something like that. So that's already a great individual. That was the guy that was also on that video that was all hype and stuff and pissed off and everything else. Here we go. Kyle stopped to ensure care for the wounded attacker, but facing a growing mob gesturing towards him, he realized that he needed to flee for his safety and his survival. Another attacker struck Kyle from behind as he fled down the street. Kyle turned as the mob pressed in on him, and he fell to the ground. One attacker kicked Kyle on the ground while he was on the ground. Yet another bashed him over the head with a skateboard. Yeah, I think we remember who that is too. Several riders tried to disarm Kyle. In fear for his life and concern the crowd would further continue to shoot at him or even use his own weapon against him, Kyle had no choice but to fire multiple rounds towards his immediate attacker, striking two, including one armed attacker. That was the one guy that had a gun and got like part of his arm blew off. And from what I'm understanding, the guy that had that got part of his arm blew off, he was a felon that was not supposed to have a gun in the first place. So Kyle had no choice but to, I already said that part. The rest of the mob began to disperse upon hearing additional gunshots. Kyle got up and continued down the street in the direction of the police with his hands in the air. He attempted to contact multiple police officers, but they were more concerned with the wounded attackers. The police did not take Kyle into custody at that time, but instead they indicated he should keep moving. He fully cooperated both then and later that night when he turned himself in to the police in his hometown of Antioch. See, I find it funny. The thing is people say, well, the cops said that or they just let him go right past. The thing is they didn't know that he was the one that shot. They didn't know. How would they know that? So it wasn't like some grand conspiracy with the police to just let him out or just let him go away. So that's the stupidest thing. Well, that's just the police. The police are complicit in all that crap. Please stop. It's freaking stupid. So here we go. Kyle did nothing wrong. He exercised his God-given constitutional, common law, and statutory law right to self-defense. However, in a reactionary rush to appease the divisive, destructive forces currently roiling this country, prosecutors in Kenosha did not engage in any meaningful analysis or facts or any other in-depth review of available video footage, some of which shows that a critical witness was not even in the area where the shots were fired. This was not a serious investigation. Rather, after learning Kyle may have had conservative political viewpoints, They immediately saw him as a convenient target, who they could use as a scapegoat to distract from the Jacob Blake shooting and the government's abject failure to ensure basic law and order to citizens. Within 24 to 36 hours, he was charged with multiple homicide counts. Kyle now has the best legal representation in the country, with help from Nicholas Sandman, attorney L. Linwood. I never could say. I thought L. Linwood. Okay, so it's L. Linwood. I always thought it was just Linwood. Pierce Bainbridge and multiple top-tier criminal defense lawyers in Wisconsin immediately offered representation to Kyle. We got a little more left. Today, his legal team was successful in working with the public defender to obtain a several week continuance of his extradition hearing to September 25th. This is at least partially slows down the rush to judgment by a government and media that is determined to assassinate his character and destroy his life. Kyle, his family, the team at Pierce Bainbridge, and his other lawyers intend to fight these charges every step of the way, take the case to trial, and win an acquittal on the grounds of self-defense before a jury of his peers. The legal fees and other costs of Kyle's defense will be provided through donations to Fight Back Foundation Incorporated, a Texas 501c4 foundation created by John Pierce and Linwood to protect the law-abiding American citizens whose rights will be trampled on by state and local governments and are more concerned with appeasing mobs than protecting those rights. Pierce Bainbridge, founder John Pierce, praised Kyle's strength and resilience. A 17-year-old child should not have to wake up in arms to America to protect life and property. This is the job of the state and local governments. However, these local governments have failed, and law-abiding citizens have no choice but to protect their own communities as their forefathers did in Lexington and Concord in 1775. Kyle is not a racist or a white supremacist. He is a brave, patriotic, compassionate, law-abiding American who loves his country and his community. He did nothing wrong. He defended himself, which is fundamental right of Americans given by God and protected by law. He is now in the crosshairs of institutional forces that are much more powerful than him. But he will stand up to them and fight not only for himself, but for all Americans and their beloved Constitution. We will never leave his side until he is victorious in this fight. Further updates will be provided as the investigation and legal proceedings unfold. # Fight Back. It's just amazing. It amazes me that so many people are actually standing for a guy that's wanted for sexual assault with a long rap sheet there of charges and then going for having a fight with the police, going for a knife and everything else, and this is the bad guy right here. Or instead of looking at the people that are burning down all the businesses and burning down everything in Kenosha, Wisconsin, they want to look at this guy. He's the bad guy. What about the first guy that went after him? The first guy that went after him was a sex offender and had got caught for messing with underage girls. Or this is amazing. But this boy is the one they're going to make an example out of. And I'm going to tell you, if he beats these charges, which it kind of seems like he will, if he beats the charges, I'll say this: it needs to be another Sandman situation. Start getting a list of all, get a list of all the people that have been calling him white supremacists, and just start going for it. Get this little boy paid. Comment, like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. All right.